Time on the Romford Facebook Quickie interviews, I have Anthony Kalmeta, the director and writer, and just recently found out 21-year-old writer-director of Overcast, a very strong, powerful, quite psychological drama, starring Connor Falk and I believe it was Lane Ray. How are you doing, Anthony? How are you this fine day?
I'm doing great. It's a great day today and glad to be talking to you.
And how have you been keeping? It's a question that I've been asking all sorts of creatives and everything like that. How have you been keeping over the whole lockdown situation? And has it got the juices flowing? Is there more scripts coming from you?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I've spent, before lockdown, I had started a script. And when lockdown, started happening, I had like a good 3 months to then, start finishing up that script. So it's a film that I'm going to be shooting this year, and it doesn't require a large cast. We're going to be using the right precautions, safety protocols. So that's the next project that's on the horizon. So it's been good. It's been productive, I can say.
Yeah, it's one of the things. Like it is terrible. It's awful what's been happening and everything. But one of the things that I've found is all of a sudden, people like yourself and people that I've been speaking to recently, we all of a sudden have plenty of time to finish those things we never had time for.
Yeah.
As bad as it's been quite good for the creatives, which is awesome.
Yeah.
We'll always try and pull a positive from this horrible situation. So I've been asked to sit down and have a bit chat with you for the Romford Film Festival because your movie Overcast is showing. I don't want you to spoil anything because I want people
of course.
to sort of go and see the movie and when people can get it worldwide, sort of have a look at it. But what would be your, shall we say, elevator pitch for the movie? How would you sell it to people?
So it's a short psychological drama that revolves around a 13-year-old boy whose mother mysteriously disappears. And this leads him to question not only his father, but his own memory to uncover the truth.
Yeah, and it's a brilliant little psychological drama. I thoroughly enjoyed this. One of those ones that the tension. Like it just, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Which is why it's why when you came on the camera and you said you were only 21, I was like, like what have I been doing with my life?
Now this one's been cooking for a couple of years, not script-wise, but just like kicking the story idea around. And and one of the things I really liked with just putting in the tension is, like you can just keep stretching it across the span of 25 minutes, and that's what I really tried to do. So I'm glad you responded to that.
It is a tricky thing to do, and of course you build and build and build and build, but then the movie itself also, right the way through to the end, maintains a certain level. I mean, how tricky is that for you as a director to sort of, once you get there, stay there?
Well, I think it was a big, challenge in the script because when the actors, they read the script and we were on set, it was easy to kind of pace everything. And also, of course, you pace the performances in the edit to some extent. But in the script, it was a lot about just kind of finding those moments where you can write in descriptions like how long a moment could be by adding in certain detail. And so it was really just a script to screen translation there.
As well, the performances, because
Huge. Yeah.
The young lad you've got in there. I mean, he's 13 in the movie. Is he 13 in real? Or?
He was when we started filming, and second day of filming, he turned 14. So it was actually his birthday on our second day. He looks so much older than.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you have two extremely powerful performances in this movie with the father. I think, is it Connor Falk, or have I got them the right way around?
Oh, Connor Falk is the child actor. Yeah.
Lane Ray, like you've got two phenomenal performances coming out of these two, and both, different ends of the spectrum age-wise. How did you come across these two?
So with Lane, I had found him through online casting agencies and stuff. So it was more about getting the film out there, auditions. Lane actually came in. He was the only actor that I had felt could actually pull this off. So he was the first cast for the film. Connor was really tricky. He took months to find. I had to like call up casting directors, go through casting agencies, work my way down to, and then they redirect me here, get me all these different audition tapes, and finally, and you know, the nature of the film is a little bit mature, so it's really tough to try to get like someone's mom on board with having their kid be a part of something like this. And Connor was so for it because I think it really gives him a chance to showcase how mature and like he's very emotionally mature, and a lot of the roles he's had in the past, maybe he's felt like he hasn't been able to fully shine. And I feel like in this film, he's really put himself out there and really just put his all into it, because these are the type of films, as he told me, that he wants to be doing.
And of course, at that age, who doesn't want to be dropping one hell of an F-bomb at the kitchen table?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I mean, that would sell it for me straight away. I'd be like, make sure my mother's on set that day. As you say, you're ratcheting up the tension all the way through it. But one particular scene that really strikes me is the scene by the mailbox. It's,
Really?
it's a cracking little scene that you've got there. So how did you find, I know we sort of asked the question before, but in that particular scene, getting the performance out of the guys to get to that point, like how did that work for you? Also being so young, kind of thing, just kind of, this is, let's get you here.
So one of the things that I had focused on when we were shooting is how the shots would kind of cut together, what we'd be doing afterwards with the shots. And we went through that take with Connor maybe like 8 times, where he's going up to the mailbox so many different times. We also had to time it with the sky, because we had to make sure that the sky was actually overcast. So you kind of get that soft light. So we were fighting against time to try to make sure it looks just right. But he really just kind of fell into the feeling of the script. And I sat down with him for many hours before we actually shot. And we had a lot of reads. Yeah. And he asked a lot of questions. We went through it. I explained to him what the intention is behind each scene. And I didn't want to tell him how to act, but like he was able to fit within the feeling of that scene. And we just kind of shot it. We told him to hold a little bit, so to kind of take in, because it's all about realization. Because the thing about his character is he does a lot of looking, not so much talking at times. Yet he's supposed to hold every scene. And that was the tricky part, because it's like, you know, this is a character that is reacting to things, but also driving the story. So that was a tricky balance to find, but I think we found it.
Oh yeah, definitely. He's you got a little superstar in the making there, and and you quickly just mentioned the overcast sky. Of course, that is the name of the movie, which is a very, very clever double entendre on your part. So, how did the name come about, or did it just immediately that's the name?
So one of the things I like to do when I'm writing script is I always focus on tone. And one of the things that had set the tone early on for the feeling of the film, it was the overcast sky. It was that feeling of, you know, grayness. And of course, you know, the movie has a huge gray area about it. So it really does fit in. And it just felt right, like the title fit. And yeah.
The setting, the sort of the rural sort of suburb kind of setting. I love the fact that it feels, you know, you're almost on the edge of being in amongst people, but you're also very far back, so you get a very clear sense of how the young lad is feeling, but also kind of the dad. It sort of plays into his psyche as well. Was that a completely conscious choice, or was it just, this is like the best place to film?
No, this was definitely a conscious choice. I searched through, I think it was 10,000 listings for houses, and I could not find this. And I actually asked my girlfriend to go through and take a look, and she found this one that I had overlooked throughout all of those. And I was really going for something that's like suburban, Midwestern style, but that's hard when you live in California, because there are a lot of beach houses, a lot of, you know, different types of houses you can shoot at, but not many Midwestern, and of course not with a basement. So, and the basement was shot separately. So the basement is in Los Angeles. The house was up in West Covina. So we shot at 2 separate locations there, and we kind of stitched them together and made them look like the same house.
Yeah, you couldn't really tell. It's you've done a cracking little job there as well. So that's awesome. your influences and your inspirations, and what did you kind of draw on for this movie? I'm not trying to ask you,
Yeah.
is it a deep personal thing? Like, what did you
Yeah.
draw on for it?
Yeah, everyone, draws from their own history because that's what makes it feel kind of authentic to some extent. So I definitely drew from a lot of feelings that I had as a kid, but it was also in a lot of the circumstances, but I also was just really inspired by a lot of, drama films, and films by like, Denis Villeneuve,
Yeah.
for example, like, but that was just more of like I'm not directly taking any plot beats from any other films. This is something that I really try to just develop without, any idea of I want it to be like this. It's just, I want it to express this kind of complex idea of parental manipulation and
Mm.
really kind of dive into the psyche and what is truth for a young kid, especially when they're so dependent on their parents and their parents shape their heads from when they're growing up. So it's like you get this almost like they're pitting their kids against one another at times.
Yeah, yeah, you know what it is, man. Exactly, 100% there. I've got three daughters of my own. One of them is 12, and 1,000,000% that's what's going on in our house right now. Is the whole like he said this, she said that, and so yeah, you're 100% right. I mean, yeah. How long from concept to completion was this short for you? Was it you made it, you wrote the script, and then it was done, or was it a long period for you?
So I wrote the script in about 3 months, and the next 2 months were pre-production. So getting everyone involved, getting the team together, getting all the cast. Then the next 1 month was principal photography. So that only lasted, I think we had 5 shooting days, but it was kind of spread out over the course of the month. And then about 3 months for editing, music and sound design, mixing, etc. So
Awesome.
it was a good like almost a year. It was like a good 8 months or so.
So again, you would have been even younger.
Yeah. No, I was 20. Yeah, yeah. When I was shooting, editing, and making the whole film, I was actually 20.
And I keep coming back to that. I do, because the movie itself is super powerful, and
Thank you.
you don't always expect that from someone as young as yourself, kind of coming out of the gate and everything. It's great to see people your age putting that story out there, and not just putting it out there, but expertly putting it out there, like making it look and feel as good as it did. And that's why I keep coming back to it. I don't mean to be pandering. I don't know if it's
No, 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 not yeah.
I don't know if
And
it
that,
comes across that way.
yeah, no, and that was something that I was really focusing on was finding the right actors who could really realistically channel the emotions that are in the script. And I tried to make it as realistic as possible, so you see the characters sort of devolve and like develop. And it was a real challenge, but I definitely found the actors for that. And I was thinking, I'm like, as long as the actors are there, everything around them can be a little bit, like maybe not perfect,
Mm.
and the story would still have the resonance because you're focusing on the performances. So, but I'm so glad my director of photography, Isaiah, walked in a fantastic job with that film. So I was super like on board with his decision making, like the ideas that he had, and we, worked on that together, and of course with the actors, and everything just kind of came together. So, it was a great process. Definitely a huge learning experience for everyone.
Yeah, that was one of the other things as well. I was going to touch on that a little bit, was your director of photography, because I'm not going to throw ballpark figures out there, but I saw a rough idea of what your budget was, and for that kind of money, this movie looks gorgeous. It looks very, very nice for that kind of money. It's incredible what people are doing right now in sort of your lower budgets. It's great. I'm loving seeing what's coming out, and you're obviously part of the wave coming up, so that's awesome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
So I want people to know where they can find you, what you have coming up next, what you're working on. I know we kind of touched on that a little bit earlier. Basically, where can we find Anthony Kalmeta coming forward in the future?
You can find me. I have a website for Overcast short film that's actually going to be converted into the production company website.
Nice.
So you'll have all the information there, ways to contact, ways to see the film. Also the Facebook page. You can follow me on Instagram as well. So I've got a bunch of different social outlets, but the next film that's coming up is Echoes, and it's about a man isolated in the fabric of time, searching for a human connection, afraid of what he might find.
Damn. Yeah, you've sold that to me already. No, I love the sound of that, and one that I am going to be championing all the way through the week and getting people into the cinema to see, because Overcast was a highlight of the festival for me.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you so much.
Definitely, man, you've done a cracking job, and it's been awesome to sit down and chat to you. So, yeah, this has been great.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I mean, I love what you guys are doing, and you know, this is the first time the film is actually going to be seen in like a theater setting with an actual audience. So, you know, I wish I could be there, but I'm so glad that you guys will get to experience that. It really does mean a lot, because I was thinking that Overcast, like, we spent like a year kind of making it, and it was like, okay, now we're going to finally get to see it in a festival with an audience, see their reaction. Never happened. I was like, oh no, this is going to be and this is actually my first film that I've ever made. So it's like one of those things where, it's like, okay, this is my first film. It won't be seen, but that's okay. Like, it'll be online.
It will be seen. It will be seen, and
Exactly. So that means a lot to me.
And we'll get as many butts in that seat as possible.